Here's Goodnight Olive making her move to take the lead by a head around the far turn. Race Kane has nearly 10 lengths to make up, so does Scooby Guando, verifying the leader. Top of the stretch, Tapit Trice is coming onto the outside. Up to the mark is running late behind Master of the Seas. Set piece down the center of the course. Master of the Seas alongside Annapolis. Here's Elusive Princess coming after Maj, and Mission of Joy tries to find room between that pair. Maj has the lead. Mission of Joy second, Elusive Princess third. The champ in front. Goodnight Olive chased all the way. Tapit Trice! Tapit Trice wins the Toyota Bluegrass.
Good Friday evening, everyone. Welcome into the Keeneland Look Ahead podcast one last time for 2024. I'm Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now as we preview day 17 of 17, closing day Saturday, October 26th. Not only do we have 3 stakes races on the card to wrap up the season, we also have ourselves a Pick 6 carryover to the tune of $72,980. Final 6 races of the meet will comprise a Pick 6 with $72,000 plus in the carryover. Something to get interested about there for sure. Of course, the 3 big stakes races on the card we have for you. We're going to have the Fayette Stakes for the older handicap division. We're going to have the 2-year-olds in the Bowman Mill Stakes going sprinting on the main track. And then we're also going to have the 3-year-olds on the turf in the Bryan Station worth $600,000. So a lot of different divisions represented over the final couple days of racing here at Keeneland. We saw the 2-year-old fillies in the Myrtlewood today. Rusty Arnold got the victory there with the undefeated Echo Sound. And then Rusty said, why not sweep the stakes double on Friday? He also took down the Valley View for the 3-year-old fillies. Poolside was Slim. Got to see her in person win the Penn National Oaks earlier this year, and she's had herself a nice 3-year-old season. Wasn't quite up to the cusp of a Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup here at Keeland, but she certainly had a nice season, spotted well. Maybe we'll see her next year in the 4-year-old ranks, Pegasus World Cup Turf or something like that. Maybe they'll take on some bigger opportunities, but nice effort by the Rusty Arnold trainees today, and what a meet it's been for Rusty Arnold. It's his best Keeneland meet since 2011. He's got 8 wins. He won 3 races on the card today. We talked about the 2 stakes. Came into the day with 5, which is a pretty good meet for Rusty, and a lot of it kind of came second half of the meet, but then he poured it on with 3 wins today on Friday. So if you want to catch Rusty Arnold, you got one more shot, race number 7 on closing day. But boy, he is really finishing with a bang. He's 3rd in the trainer standings. Brad Cox has got this thing wrapped up. He's got 13 wins. Rudy Brisset is 2nd in the standings with 9. Brisset hasn't had a starter the past 2 days of the meet and still 2nd in the standings. He's got 1 also in race number 7. So Arnold and Brisset, 2 of the hotter barns going at it in the 7th race coming up on Saturday. As far as the jockey title goes, Luis Saez did have 2 wins today. Irad Ortiz had 2, but I don't think they're going to threaten Tyler Gaffalione. He comes into closing day with 22 victories, 4 ahead of Luis Saez. Saez with 18. Jose Ortiz has 17, had a really good meet here. So 22 Tyler, 18 Luis, 17 for Jose. Looks like the jockey title goes to Tyler Gaffalione again here, barring some unforeseen, unbelievable day by Luis Saez or Jose Ortiz. And then, of course, the training title going to go to Brad Cox here, as expected. He's got that 13-9 wins lead, and he has mathematically clinched it. Nobody has enough starters in the card to come and get him. So that's a look at what we had on the racetrack today. And as we look ahead to the final day of racing at Keeneland, supposed to be good weather again, temps upper 60s into the 70s, fast and firm, expected maybe a little cooler than it's been on some of the other days, but certainly not a huge break in the weather expected from the last forecast I saw for Lexington. So what a run. Mother Nature has smiled brightly on this meet at Keeneland. We cannot complain. I mean, if you think back to the way Saratoga struggled to even get cards in, much less, off the turf races, what we had here for a boutique meet, when you're only at 4, 6, 7 weeks, like, a Keeneland or a Saratoga, weather can make just such a big impact on the overall racing quality and the bottom line for the track. You cannot complain with the weather that we got for this particular meet. All right, let's talk about the card coming up for Saturday. Let's give you the snapshot look of the program, how it lines up. We've got 10 races for you on the card. So pick 5s do not overlap. First 5 and then last 5 for the early and late pick 5. The early pick 4 is going to start in the 2nd race. We go to the pick 6. It's going to start in the 5th. Races 5 through 10 will be the pick 6, 72,980 the carryover. Fifth race, also the first leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. Turf Pick 3 will be on races 5, 7, and 9. Hit you with the Bryan Station Stakes as the final leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. Our first stakes race will be the 2-year-old Colts in action in the Bowman Mill. That's race number 6. Kicks off the late pick 5. Late pick 4 opens in the 7th, as well as the Turf Pick 3 race. We'll have the Fayette co-featured in the 8th, the Bryan Station the feature in the 9th, which wraps up the Turf Pick 3. And no carryover in the Toyota Super High 5. It was hit for about $11,000 in the last race on Friday, so no carryover going into the finale. That's the way this card will line up. Now, conspicuously absent are races in orange, my key races. I apologize. You would think after 17 days I wouldn't make that mistake on the graphic, but key races for me will be races 2, 7, and 9. We'll talk about those as we get through the card. But 2, 7, 9 are going to be my key races on the program as we get handicapping. I wish I had somebody else to blame for the graphics mistakes, but they're mine. Let's go now to the handicapper selectors box. You can download this at Keeland.com. Easy print function there, so be sure to check that out. Gives us a chance to see how the other handicappers across the way are looking at these races, and maybe if we'll get the prices that we're looking for. We look at race number 1, and the horse I've got picked on top, Edith Strudis, is a horse who's 6-1 in the morning line, all since February. But this is a practical joke filly, bred to love the track here at Keeneland. Will be the first run over the track, dropping out of the Honeybee Stakes, the Mockingbird. This horse obviously went awry physically for Fausto Gutierrez after the Honeybee, but that was the distance race at 70-1. The sprints are all good for this one, and Fausto Gutierrez bringing horses back off 6-month layoffs. Not too shabby. 3 for 6 with a big ROI. $7 back for every $2 bet. So I'm assuming Edith Strudis is going to be ready to go. Luis Saez rides. No speed in the 1 from Divine Divine Gal. So Saez can come popping out of there with a fresh horse. And I think Edith Strudis should get a good trip from the inside. There is some other speed in this race, though. I don't think anybody's going to easily wire this particular group. But at 6.5 furlongs, you don't want to be far off the pace in here. So the 2, Edith Strudis, is going to be my top play in here. Number 5, All Class, is the even money morning line favorite. This horse looks fine. I don't have any problem, but the Florida bred restricted races that this runner comes out of, this is going to be a tougher spot than what All Class has run in. This Safi Joseph trainee is getting Tyler Gaffleone to ride here. A lot to like in that respect. From a buyer speed figure standpoint, that 82 last time looks good, but prior to that, the other numbers are kind of similar to what many of these have been posting. So I'm not sure why All Class has to be even money in this particular spot. I respect the horse. I give her a shot for the victory, but I don't think she lays over the field. So not taking even money on that. Play Good, Pay Good, the 3, the other one I've got thrown in there. This horse comes back from a 2-turn race at Laurel last time. Tossed that race out. Mile and 16th, 2 turns at Laurel. And it's a tough trip there with a starting really right on top of the first turn. At Monmouth went 2 turns as well prior to that, but the 1-turn races are solid at Belmont at Aqueduct. The Keeland win here last year in Allowance Company, something in Starter Allowance Company, something you want to hang your hat on. Last meet, I should say, not last year, back in April. So Play Good, Pay Good should run well over this track. You would assume, again, Rick Dutrow hasn't had anything at the meet, so he brings one in here at the end. Jose Ortiz rides again. Ortiz having a really good meet, 3rd in the standing. So I'll go 2, 5, 3 in here. All Class, top pick for Scott and Gabby. The 3, top pick for Kim. And the 4, the Big Calhouna, picked on top by Tom Leach. The Big Calhouna comes back on 10 days rest for Kent Sweezy. Won here earlier in the meet on the 16th for 40,000, non-winners at 2. Makes a step up in class here to the non-winners at 3, dual condition claimer. I would think that the 4 would have a shot in here to punch as well. 2, 5, 3, and 4. I'll take the 2. Not a strong opinion in there, but I think you want to use multiple contenders to get through the pick 4 and pick 5. I wouldn't just settle for that even money morning line shot. Let's go from the pick 5 starter to the first leg of the pick 4. That'll be race number 2. 7 furlong claimers here. Another dual condition claimer, which means you can be a non-winner of 3 lifetime at any age, or if you're a 3-year-old, you can have as many wins as you want to rack up. Well, we get a rare situation, and this is why it's one of my key plays of the day, that there's a 3-year-old actually taking advantage of the conditions, right? So many times we see these races and somebody enters a 3-year-old who's a non-winner of 3 anyway. Well, why run against older horses? This is a 3-year-old, the 9 Princess of Olivia, who's already a 3-time winner, taking on non-winners at 2. And when you think about this, it's like, how long did it take you to rack up 3 wins in your career? You wouldn't want to be an older horse and still in the non-winners at 3. So as a 3-year-old already winning 3 races, I think it's kind of a double bump for the 9 Princess of Olivia, Princess is Olivia. Easy for me to say. 6-1 in the morning line. I love this one in this particular spot, and I'm not sure why nobody else does. A couple third choices in here, but give me Princess is Olivia off the claim for Eddie Keneally. Maybe being claimed away from David Jacobson scared some people there. This horse won for Bob Hess and also won for Juan Cano. Likes to win races. 3 wins in the last 5 starts, and all 3 wins were for different trainers. So if you're worried about this filly changing to the Keneally barn, she won for Cano, she won for Hess, she won for Jacobson. So I don't see any negative there. Eddie Keneally also part owner here, so I like that when they go in and claim one. A little more vested interest to place the horse in a winning spot, not necessarily where the owner wants, because you are the co-owner. Princess is Olivia, one of my key plays of the day, 6-1 in the morning line. And it looks like maybe the price will hold up based on everybody else's opinions in here. The 6, Ribbons in Her Hair, gets a couple top plays out of nothing at all. Also some consideration. Scott's got the one in there, Sugar Bell, coming out of races at Prairie Meadows for Doug Anderson. I've got it 9, 2, 8, and 7 to 2 out of nothing at all. The 5-2 morning line favorite will be my second choice. A winner over the track, has a good pedigree to like it here at Keeneland by Super Saver, but certainly you'll take existing past performances over pedigree anytime. So if a horse has a good record over the track, it really doesn't matter who the sire is, but it certainly underscores here. You would have expected a daughter of Super Saver to like the going here at Keeneland, a really effective sire on the main track. And out of nothing at all, had a nice win here, going 7 furlongs. Ran poorly going at Keeneland, a mile and a 16th, but this horse's 2-turn races have not been good. Better around 1 turn. That's what she gets on Saturday. Out of nothing at all to be respected. 9-2 for me, and I'm kind of just, looking at those 2 only in this race. If I'm playing a multi-race wager, 2 deep at the most, certainly an exacta play here, 9-2, and I would have no problem at all in singling the 9 Princess is Olivia, in the multi-race wagers here, if you care to go that way. Again, we start the pick 4, and it's also the second leg of the pick 5. No new wagers open in race number 3, but it'll be part of those key pick ends early in the card. And not a lot in here in terms of good past performances. There's a field of 12 maidens, 2-year-old fillies, and they're stretching all the way to 1 mile and an 1/8 on the turf. This is a race I think you want to watch out for the scratches and changes, because the 16 Poema, I think, would lay over this field for Paulo Lobo if this one's able to get into the race. Even from an outside post, the 16 Poema, I think, would be very tough and effective in this spot. Without that runner, number 7, Mambo Queen for Chad Brown, the play, and 9-5 in the morning line. So not a creative look in this race for these maidens going 1 mile and an 1/8 for me. I'm kind of chalking out in this spot. 16 would be my top pick. The 7, Mambo Queen, makes plenty of sense in here off the second place finish at Kentucky Downs. Again, a lot of horses didn't have much success closing the win there at Kentucky Downs. So the rally to be second in the debut wasn't too bad at all. And really, this horse last time out was able to outrun Tisn't She Lovely, the 8, same horse coming out of the same race for Dallas Stewart in here. They rematch, and I would certainly think that the 8 had the advantage last time, being up near the pace, whereas the 7 was running against the bias. Now on a more fair track over 1 mile and 1/8, I would definitely think the 7 will have the 8's number in here. But the way I've got it lined up here is 16, 7, and 9. My gal third choice in here. Also closed pretty well at Kentucky Downs. Up against a particular a potential track bias. The 12 El Jory, one in here who's really well bred. $1.1 million daughter of Medaglia d'Oro and Up, the daughter of Galileo. Extremely good pedigree here for Shadwell Stables. Blinkers go on. Was in that race against Ramsey Pond and Mambo Queen, and that effort. Of course, all these horses chase Ramsey Pond, who we're going to see a little bit in stakes company. Ramsey Pond, a horse who... did we see Ramsey Pond today, or was that yes? No, Ramsey Pond is gone at Gulfstream Park. That's what I'm thinking. Ramsey Pond, the horse that many of these ran against. If you like to gamble other places, the 7, the 8, and the 12 all come out of a race against Ramsey Pond. That horse for, I believe it's Safi Joseph, is running in the stakes race on Saturday at Gulfstream Park, the Our Dear Peggy Stakes. So this race here will go before the race at Gulfstream, give you a little sense of the competition. So if you're looking to gamble around the country, make sure you tab the result of this third race before you look at Saturday's feature at Gulfstream. Let's move to race number 4 next up on the card. Mile and a 16th here, $20,000 starter allowance. A lot of these horses in this race really fit the condition. When I look at a starter allowance race like race number 4, no new wagers kick off in this incidentally, but it is part of the early pick 4 and pick 5. When I talk about a horse fitting the conditions of the race are what make you eligible to run in a particular race. To be eligible in this starter allowance, they're 3-year-olds and up, which have started for a claiming price of $20,000 or less in 2023 or 2024. So you could have a whole bunch of horses in here who ran way less than 20,000, and you could have this field full of $5,000 claimers. They'd be eligible to run. But say you have a horse that's been running for 50,000 in allowance races, and one time in their career in the last 2 years dropped in for 20,000. They're eligible to run in this race, even though they're really 50,000 and up kind of level horses. So in starter allowance races, you're trying to figure out who fits the conditions best to have the advantage in terms of class. So I'm looking for a horse in a race like this, a horse who only dropped in maybe once for 20,000, had success there for 20, got up out of that level and has been running against stronger since. And there are several in here that are pretty good fits. The one best performer dropped to that level last time. If you look at the one is the perfect example of this best performer, just a series of maiden special weight and allowance races, dropped in last time for 20,000, won by 5 as a major favorite at 4-5 for Joe Sharp, got claimed away. And now the new trainer, Juan Cano, makes a really shrewd move here because this horse, by dropping in for 20 last time, became eligible instantly to run in these 20,000 starter allowances, even though this horse had been fairly effective over the summer, running 4th in allowance company at Ellis Park. So horses like Best Performer are a great example, ones that really fit the condition for this starter allowance. The 4 Lady Mercedes is in the same boat. You look at the 6 Windy Walk. This is a horse who dropped in for 20,000 in the maiden claiming ranks, won here over the track at Keeneland, and now has never seen a 20,000 claimer since. Another really good fit, and then ran in the starter allowance for this level at Churchill and won that race last time. So these horses are really good fits in here. The 1, the 4, the 6, the 8 fits pretty decent. The 11 fits decently, and that's in a starter allowance how I start to do my handicapping. Which one of those 4 or 5 horses who really fit the conditions well look best to me in this particular spot? So with that in mind, here's how I handicap race number 4. I took the 6 and the 1 as 2 of the horses who really fit the conditions well. And then I've got them marked 1, 2 in this spot. Chris Davis trains the 6 Windy Walk. He's had an excellent meet with limited number of starters. Almost everything he sends out there has run pretty well at the meet. We mentioned Windy Walk dropped in one time for 20,000, won that race easily by 7 lengths here at Keeland in the maiden claiming ranks, but also has won at this condition and is a horse who likes to win races. And you'll see that often in the starter allowance ranks. These horses can run out some victories. You look at this 2, 4, 6, last 7 starts, 4 victories for Windy Walk. So you get a horse who likes the track, a hot trainer, Luis Saez riding. That gives them the edge to me over the 1 in here, Best Performer. But I really like the 1's last race, how they fit the conditions for this particular spot. The 2-1 morning line favorite, Best Performer, would not be a big shock in here. Has early speed to take advantage of that mile and a 16th inside rail draw. Should be effective in here. 6, 1, 7, and 11, the way I line them up here. And Windy Walk, top choice for Tom and Scott as well. Picked underneath by Gabby and Kim. I think this horse is going to be first or second choice. I don't think we're going to get a big price on Windy Walk, but I've got this one fairly chalky here. 3-1 in the morning line with Windy Walk, top choice for me in the 4th race. Let's move on to race number 5. In the 5th is going to kick off the pick 6, $72,980 in the carryover. Nobody solved the pick 6 today or on Thursday. So that's a 2-day carryover, and it must go on closing day. So mandatory payout, $72,980 for the $1 minimum pick 6. The Keeland Turf pick 3 is going to start in this spot as well. This is another race where scratches and changes are going to be important. Random Harvest to 13, I think, is one you absolutely have to consider if this horse gets into the field. Veteran trainer Jimmy Toner doesn't win often with first-time starters or have them cranked through the roof. For this horse to run as fast and as strong as she did in her career debut over a mile at Kentucky Downs signals that she could be a good one. She's by Uncle Mo out of Claire de Lune. Claire de Lune was an excellent turf mare. I want to say that was Ron McAnally out on the West Coast, but she was outstanding. This is a fantastic pedigree. Random Harvest could be any kind. If able to draw into the field, would definitely be the top choice here in this entry-level allowance. A mile and 3/16, the farther they go like this, like I always say, you want to look for class and pedigree, and you certainly have that with the Claire de Lune on the dam side. Of course, she was a daughter of the great Galileo. All right, so I've got it 13. If she's not in, then the 7, Heart Spin. Heart Spin is by Hard Spun, a horse who's had 5 winners at the meet, 4 of them on the turf. This horse for Anna Navarrete comes out of a race at a mile and 5/16 at Kentucky Downs when rallying way against the bias, was 9 lengths back, got beat a half length in second. Should get a more fair racetrack. Mile and 3/16 should fit this one pretty well. Heart Spun, I horse at 9-2 in the morning line. My top choice if the 13 doesn't draw into the lineup. The 3 and the 2, also part of my considerations. The 3, Public Assembly. This is one with a Kitten's Joy as the dam sire here. More Than Ready, the versatile sire up top. A winner at a mile and 5/16. No problem with the distance at Kentucky Downs. Should get this trip easily at a mile and 3/16. Jose Ortiz, Chad Brown, they get to save ground from the 3-hole. A lot to like in that one. So there's some good options in this race. 13, 7, 3. The other one I would look at is number 2, Miss Hebrides. Miss Hebrides is a horse who, by Mendelssohn, a filly who's got speed. She's run on the main track on a couple races that were washed off the turf, but you got to think her pedigree is just as good on dirt as it is on turf. So if that dirt form transfers over, she could be a factor in this spot. But 13 and 7 to me are the strongest in here. The 3 also gets a big consideration. I'd go 3 deep, 13, 7, 3 if we're looking at a multi-race wager, or potentially singling the 13. 13 Random Harvest should be strong in this spot if she's able to draw in. The 5, Shiloh's Mistress, gets a lot of love across the way here. Scott and Tom and Gabby and everybody else picking the 5. I don't have Shiloh's Mistress in here, dropping out of the stakes ranks last time out at Kentucky Downs. Maybe an oversight on my part, but this is a horse who's 3 times in a row out of the money. Doesn't have a lot to show for her efforts on the turf. 1 for 4 lifetime. She's by Vino Rosso out of a St. Liam mare. I mean, I don't know. She might be classier on the dirt. I'm not sure why you have to take a price on her if it's going to be too short. Dueling Grounds Oaks, she was 50-1 in that particular spot. Let's see what the public does. If they follow along with the rest of the public, with the other public handicappers in here with Shiloh's Mistress, I just think there are better options than her in this particular spot to run on the turf. So we'll see what happens. I'm on the reverse island here. Everybody's got Shiloh's Mistress on top. I might have just missed it. That happens. And I'll tell you what, the kind of meet I've had, I've missed some. It has not been one of my stellar handicapping meets here at Keeland. We will admit that. But we still got 10 more shots to fire here, and I'd rather keep swinging and try to work out some good prices and opinions where we can here over the final 5 races now as we handicap into the 6th. The 6th race kicks off the late pick 5. It's our first of 3 stakes races, the Bowman Mills Stakes. Bowman Mills, 6 furlongs for the 2-year-old colts. There were 2 fillies entered in this race, but one of them ran today for Wesley Ward. We're going to end up scratching White Sands out of here. She ran today in the stakes race, the Myrtle Wood. Long Neck Paula scratched out of the Myrtle Wood and goes here. So Wesley ran or entered both in both races to see which one he would pick. Long Neck Paula stays in here. White Sands, the 7, will be a scratch. Macho Music was a big-time winner here October 5th for trainer Rowan Crichton, coming up from Florida. I thought it was an outstanding effort. Comes back on 21 days rest. If you look at the past performance lines for Macho Music, the 4 debuted August 10th, then came back August 31st. 21 days in the form cycle, and ran through the screen at Gulfstream, winning by 9.5 in the maiden race. Followed that back up in October with a little more break, but this horse has run well on a 21-day break before. Macho Music looks loose on the lead in here to me. I don't think there's other top-notch speed to go with her, so I think she just gets the lead here in a field to 6 and takes some gate to wire. I'm on the 6, Long Neck Paula. Or I'm on the 4, I should say, Macho Music, with the 6, Long Neck Paula, my second choice. As for the other handicappers in here, Scott's also got Macho Music, politically correct, top pick for Tom and Gabby. Long Neck Paula, top choice in here for Kim Nelson. Middy's Gritty's an interesting one for Brad Cox. He's had such a great meet here. Brad Cox with 5 stakes winners already at the meet, looking for 6. 5 stakes wins in a meet is already a Keeneland record for one season. Middy's Gritty in the debut at Churchill was as far back as any 6 furlong maiden special weight winner you're ever going to see at the top of the stretch. came outside and ran by everybody. The final quarter of the race was 25-3 on the clock, but this horse had to make up at least 10 lengths over that last quarter mile, maybe more. So you're looking at a horse who came home in 23 and change probably on the clock. Middy's Gritty was very impressive. You just don't win like that going 6 furlongs here at Keeneland. That's the concern for me. Now, Middy's Gritty may just have been kind of camera shy and stage fright in the first career race coming out of the starting gate. Maybe he'll be more professional in the second start. And if this son of Matoli, Middy's Gritty, is in the race from the get, they're going to have a hard time keeping this one off of him in the stretch because he was absolutely sensational in that race at Churchill Downs. So keep an eye on Middy's Gritty in here, and if he can get out of the gate a little bit better, could be a factor. But give me the 4 over the 6-3. That's the way I'm going to line them up here in the Bowman Mill Stakes. We'll go next on the program to the 7th on the card. Gets sandwiched in between the 4 stakes races. It's the Pick 4 opener. It's a 1-mile turf race. Will serve as middle leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. There's some horses in here who have not been win machines of late, like number 2, Mrs. Astor. She lost 9 in a row before finally breaking through last time. But some others have been a little bit more effective in getting to the winner's circle, and I'm going to try one in here at a nice price. This is my second key play of the day. Number 6, Lady Emily Catherine. This horse for Saffie Joseph Jr. adds blinkers, 15-1 in the morning line. Was a winner 3 starts back, won 5 starts back, so 2 wins in the last 5. I like the record here with a little bit more recent form, winning often than a horse like Mrs. Astor and some of the others in this particular spot. This is another one I think Saffie's had a little hit and miss run going at Keeland. I tried him a couple times to no avail, but he gets Tyler Gaffley on the ride here. And this is a filly who's run 2 races over the track at Keeneland, Lady Emily Catherine. She's got a win in a 1 1/8, and she's got a 3rd beat in a neck in a mile race. They go to the mile here. I think she likes the course. She's been freshened up since August in a run at Saratoga. The blinkers go on. Gaffleone goes on. That's kind of like a dual go time sign to me. Go into the leading jockey. Go into the blinkers. I'll take the 6 in here, and I'm on the island, 15-1 in the morning line. There are good options in this race. I've got 6, 3, 2, 11, 12, all marked in my past performances as horses you want to consider. So underneath the 6, I'm going to use the 3, 2, 11, 12. Going to try to mix them up in some tries and supers, get the 6 in there as well. You definitely want win money on any horse like this. That's a big price. You don't want to let that slip through the cracks. The 11 Kehoe Beach is 9-5 in the morning line. Wesley Ward teams up here with Frankie Dettori. Big win at Kentucky Downs last time out. This horse did not replicate its big win at Keeneland in April, came back at Saratoga during the Belmont meet and just misfired. I'm wondering about this horse running 2 big ones back to back. That's why I'm a little concerned with Kehoe Beach. Certainly respect. I've got the horse picked 4th, would use, certainly in the exotics, but I wouldn't take a short price, the 9-5 in the morning line. Frankie Dettori with the stakes win today on poolside with Slim over the turf here at Keeland. I believe that was in the Valley View Stakes going around 2 turns. So Frankie looking for days with back-to-back turf wins here. Give me the 6, the 3, and the 2, but then I'll use the 11 and 12 also in the exotics underneath. We go next to race number 8 on the card. That'll be our second of 3 stakes races. This is the Fayette Stakes, $350,000. This is for 3-year-olds and up on the main track, a 1.125 trip. Horses out of the Fayette may end up in something like the Clark Handicap at Churchill coming up around Thanksgiving weekend. Fayette, one of the top handicap division races for the horses at Keeneland. The Ben Ali is kind of the brother race to this one in the spring meet. We've got horses in this numbering 10 in the entry box. We'll see how many of them show up after scratches. Rattle and Roll was a horse who considered a Breeders' Cup run. Rattle and Roll's got an outstanding Keeneland resume, 2 for 4 lifetime. But you think about it, won the Breeders' Futurity here as a 2-year-old in 2021. As a 4-year-old last year, won the Ben Ali, and now tries to become a 3-time graded stakes winner on the main track at Keeneland. This is, we're talking about Rattle and Roll the 6. There have only been, we went back to dirt here in the fall of 2014. There have only been one horse who has won 3 or more stakes races on the main track here at Keeland. Her name, Malathot. She won 4 of them, and she was absolutely outstanding. Couple spinsters and I think the Ashland was thrown in there, and she might even won an Alcibiades. I'm trying to think what the other, maybe a double dog there. But she won 4 of them, including a couple spinsters. So Rattle and Roll could put himself in some pretty select company to win 3 or more stakes races here at Keeneland. He's won 2 of the big ones, the Ben Ally in the spring, and of course the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity back during his 2-year-old season. So he's in a good spot here. I prefer some of the others, but he is going to make a run at history. Rattle and Roll from off the pace. He really gives him a lot of work to do early in the race, and will try to come with a rally. He'll need some speed. Tumbarumba the 2 will provide some of that speed with a really good post draw. Not a ton of early pace in this race amongst the others in here. Howling Time on the outside may show some pace. Maybe Grand Aspen for Todd Pletcher. But Tumbarumba's a miler who's going to try to stretch out to the 1 1/8 here. I'm not so sure this horse gets a 1 1/8 trip against top company. But we know Tumbarumba likes Keeneland, got an allowance win here over the track in April of 23. Brian Lynch trains. He's had a good meet with limited starters. You get Louis Saez, very aggressive with an inside run here. I expect Tumbarumba to be part of this throughout the going. But I think they've got to beat Hit Show. Hit Show's won 3 of his last 4, and he's a horse who, for Brad Cox, will try to give him maybe a 6th or a 7th potentially stakes win, depending what happens earlier in the program. But Cox looking to pad his record for most stakes wins in a meet here at Keeneland. And Brad Cox won this race in 2018, 2022, and Hit Show's a winner over the racetrack. There's a lot to like about Hit Show in this particular spot, except the price. He's the 2-1 morning line favorite. I think he gets it done. War Campaign, a horse who's only won 1 of his last 11, but seems to be in the number quite often, especially here at Keeland. I think he's got the chance to run second. War Campaign for Tyler Gaffleone in the saddle, 8-1 in the morning line. Could make for a decent exacta if we can split some of the major players in here. I'll go 8-4. That's the same exact that Tom's got lined up. Tumbarumba, top pick in here for Gabby and Scott, looking for him to carry the speed. Rattle and Roll, top pick in there for Kim, looking to make some history. 2, 4, 6, and 8 is kind of the way everything kind of shakes around amongst most of the handicappers in here, and that's probably the way to look and dissect this race. That's how I've got him, 8, 4, 6, and 2. I do think it's Hit Show's race to lose, and I don't think he will. I will be singling him in multi-race wagers late in the day. He's not a key play for me because he's going to be the favorite in here, and I don't look at that as, any great shakes in terms of taking the favorite on top, although the exacta could be decent with War Campaign. And you could also look at some daily doubles in the Hit Show with Lady Emily Catherine in race number 7. Daily double there from race 7 to race 8 could be a good one. And we have a nice price that we like in race number 9, which will be our third key play coming up in a moment. So you could be looking at some daily doubles. If you don't want to play the exactas with Hit Show, if they're coming back too short for you, in race number 8, the way you look at it, you could look at some daily doubles, races 8 to 9. If you go ahead of time, you could go races 7 to 8 into Hit Show with some daily doubles there. Let that field size work for you in the 7th and 9th, which both have really big fields. Let's go to the 9th race on the card. It's the Bryan Station Stakes. It's the feature race worth $600,000. This race has been run sporadically since 2006, 8 editions of the race. It's been back on the schedule consistently for the last few years, the last 3. The Bryan Station is the final leg of the Keeland Turf Pick 3, and it's my final key play on the card. It's going to be a pedigree play for me here in the Bryan Station as we take a look at this field. 12 will go, 3 also eligibles in here, and I'm going all the way to the outside. Twirling Point going to be my top pick in here. I'll make the case first, and then we'll talk about some of the other lead contenders. 20-1 in the morning line. This horse is out of Kitten's Point, and that's the reason I'm picking him. His mama loved it here at Keeland. This is a Strawbridge homebred for Augustin Stable. Jonathan Thomas trains. The mare just loved it here at Keeneland. In the same season, she swept the 2 big filly and mare route races, going 1.5 miles, the 2 big stakes races. She loved it here and just had this unbelievably long, beautiful stride over the course. Twirling Point has not run at Keeneland yet, but has a good record. 3 wins from 8 starts, 3 for the last 7. Comes off a race in the Caesars at Indianapolis in July, freshened from that race in which there was no pace help whatsoever. They went around 24-2, 24-2, 24. You're not going to close into something like that. Lucky Jeremy was a speed horse, won that day. I think this horse gets a little bit more pace to work with here over the mile. It'll quicken up a bit more here at Keeneland with a big field of 12 especially. So I'm taking Twirling Point in an upset, 20-1 in the morning line with Frankie Dettori. We would take that all day and look for Frankie to sweep the Bryan Station today. And then also, of course, on Friday, taking down the big 3-year-old filly stakes race as well, the Valley View. So maybe Frankie could sweep both of those turf miles to wrap up the meet. Others in here, My Boy Prince the 4 was the favorite in the King's Plate, comes out of the Woodbine Mile. This is a horse who was third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf last year from Mark Cassie. Certainly some credentials with that one. Trickery, the 11, comes out of the City of Hope Mile, beaten a length and a half by Johannes. Johannes will be one of the top 3 or 4 betting choices probably in the Breeders' Cup Mile coming up next week at Santa Anita. Trickery gets back in against 3-year-olds, and against 3-year-olds won the Belmont Derby, won the Secretariat Stakes, a horse that, you've got to give a strong consideration for. Won the American Turf on Churchill Downs Kentucky Derby Day. Solid favorite in here, the 11 Trickery. That's going to be my second pick in here. But Trickery's going into a situation in which he went west to California, now comes back, and he took on older horses last time. How much did the trip and that difficult race take out of him? That's the question mark. Do you want to take 2-1 on Trickery? With that question looming, on paper, he looks like he should be the horse to beat in here, but they're flesh, they're not machines, and you wonder at the end of the season here if Trickery's got another big one left, making the 8th start of the year, and after that road trip west. I'm going to try to beat him, but with a big price to do so. But he will be my second choice. Brilliant Birdie is the third choice in here for me. Cherie DeVoe trains. Nice win in the Gun Runner Stakes last time from off the pace. Finished up strong on the back end of that race at Kentucky Downs when closers didn't have a ton of success. So Brilliant Birdie one to definitely consider in here as well. 12, 11, and 6. I'm not going to get too much deeper than that. I'm going to try to get through with those 3 runners, and I'm going to make a strong play on the 12 and also exact the key boxes with the 11 and the 6. And also some tries and supers, 12 with the 11, 6, and some big numbers. Same way, 12 with 11, 6. We're going to try to work those combinations around the way. Brilliant Birdie, top choice in here for 3 of the handicappers. Kim's on an island with number 1 Neat coming off a 3rd place finish for Rob Atras, also in that race against Brilliant Birdie in the Gun Runner Stakes. So let's go 12, 11, 6 for me in a race number 9, the Bryan Station. To the 10th and final race, our final race of the 17-day fall meeting as well. Toyota Super High 5 in this race. Again, a reminder, no carryover, but Super High 5 must go. There will be no carryover for this. So with a fresh pool, but a mandatory payout, maybe worth taking a swing in here on the final 5-bagger, if you will, of the 10th and final race on the card. I've got the 12 in here. Winter Creek is my top choice. Phil Bauer trains. This one showed a middle move in the career debut at Horseshoe Indianapolis on the main track going a mile. Broke in, then rushed up into the race, and then fell apart a little bit late. Gets back to a 1-turn sprint here by Connect, a good sire for over the track here at Keeland. Gabe Saez riding here for Phil Bauer, high percentage outfit. I'm going to take a shot with the 12 Winter Creek. And again, it was an awkward start in the debut. Now you're on the far outside, so maybe without as many horses to kind of worry about and nobody on either side, just on the one side, maybe it'll work out better for Winter Creek in here. I'm taking this one, but not a overly confident play. The 5 Thunderhawk also cuts back from a 2-turn race, goes to 1 turn here. Another one who kind of made all the running in the middle of the race. Kind of, if you like the 12, you like the 5. They're pretty similar in form in there. Peter Urton trains. This is a Vekoma colt. Vekoma's had, I think, 4 winners at the meet now at Keeneland. Amongst his 2-year-old crop that's just been so good nationally. Would not be surprised at all if the 5 is there. And who would be surprised if the chalk won? Because this has been one of the reign of favorites that you've seen in Keeneland modern history. The percentage of winning favorites at this current meet, it would be apropos if the chalk won the final race on the card. Dropping out of maiden specials for Brett Calhoun. This horse debuted second at Lone Star. Went on the turf last time out against the next out winner, Chasing Liberty, a 3rd place finisher who came back to win. So that was a pretty key race in the summer at Ellis Park, but he's been away for a while. The chalk now will come back here on the dirt at Keeneland and get a first run over the course with Jose Ortiz, 3rd leading rider at the meet, in the saddle. 12, 5, 9 in here. The 4 Stay Frosty amongst the first-time starters, the one that appeals to me most. This is the $50,000 Frosted Colt who's got some good work for trainer John Enos. Enos has only got the 1 win at the meet. We caught that one, but he's had a lot of seconds and thirds, and his horses are usually prices, and they've actually outrun their prices in many cases. Don't be surprised if the 4 can run a little bit in this particular spot. Race number 12, we go out with 4 different top picks amongst the 5 handicappers in the finale. That's going to wrap up this year's edition of the Keeneland Look Ahead podcast. We gave you, I think, 16 days in the spring meet and 17 here in the fall. Hope you enjoyed them. Hope they help your handicapping process, not to play just the next card at Keeneland, but the next season at Keeneland and the next track that you're going to play once the Keeneland races are over. A lot of the handicapping fundamentals that we talk about are applicable no matter which track you're talking about, as far as reading the conditions of the races and trying to dope out pace scenarios and things like that. They apply no matter which racetrack that you're playing. And certainly the wagering strategies and the fundamental approach of how to attack a card, I hope that's the number one message you get out of all these. Map the races out ahead of time. Know where your wagers are. Know where your best bets are. Budget yourself accordingly, because it doesn't matter if you're playing Keeland or you're playing Parks on a Monday afternoon. It's a good strategy to get prepared ahead of time and get your money lined up the way you want to play a particular card so that you're able to pounce. When you have the advantage, you got to get paid when you're right. And that's the final message I'm going to leave you for this year's Keeneland Handicapping Look Ahead podcast. Have a great day on closing day, folks. I'll be back in the morning with my Substack update after scratches and changes. Be sure to sign up for Substack. Last call for that amongst the podcast, because again, I'll send information out not only after scratches and changes tomorrow, but throughout Breeders' Cup season into Triple Crown season year round. You'll get a race of the week analysis, all free. Sign up for Substack, and you'll get that information sent to your email inbox each and every race day. JeremyPlunk.substack.com. And thanks, everybody, for having me into your evenings. If you're watching on the podcast in the morning with the replays, it's been a pleasure to do this. I believe this is my 33rd meet at Keeland consecutively working for him. So thanks to the staff there, Dara Mullins and company in the marketing department, for having me back for another season. God willing, we'll do it all again in 2025, but not before we sweep the card tomorrow with 10 winners on top. Let's think optimistic. Good luck tomorrow, everybody.